Let us start with Owen. I'll read the short bios here. Yes. And Owen Goltz is a Riverdale Farm and Forest. Is an organic second career farmer, arborist, permaculturist, educator, and farmers market vendor from Inglewood and Caledon. Owen's farm is widely known as a leader in adopting regenerative agricultural practices in Ontario. We welcome this speaker to discuss drawdown-related solutions for nutrient management, regenerative agriculture, and conservation agriculture. So, welcome, Owen.
I don't think I need that. So I'm not going to use it, because I'm a guy that flails and wails and everything else. It's really hard getting a farmer to come into the city, and it's really hard to even give him 8 minutes to talk. I think we have 8 minutes. And I didn't really know what to tell you about being a regenerative farmer, being maybe, I wouldn't say one of the first ones, but definitely one of the ones in the province of Ontario that's getting a lot of looks at. And I didn't know how to bring this presentation out about what I do, but there's one word, and that's love. I love what I do. I love my family, I love my community, but I love working with the soils. And that's a very powerful word for a redneck to say out in front of a group. But it's absolutely true. And we need to start loving what we're not only doing, but loving the land that we work on. And regenerative farming is one of those ways. And I've had the opportunity this past week to travel across Ontario and talk about what I do and listen to other farmers that are jumping onto the wagon and getting into some of the possibilities of regenerative farming. It's a very tough switch over. And then I finished the day by talking to the Compost Council in Guelph, the Canadian Compost Council in Guelph, about what we're doing and the way that we use compost. But for those that don't know what regenerative farming is it's quite a bit different than conventional farming, and I'll even say it's a little bit different from organic farming. And if you want to get an idea of what I do is that I've been able to take my land that had 2.5% organic matter, which is carbon, and in the last 8 years I've been able to push that up over 5 to 8%. And in some cases I've been able to capture 1% organic matter in my soils. And every scientist and everybody who said that couldn't be done until they came and saw what we were doing. And I was just one of roughly 1.5 million regenerative farmers around the world. So it can be done. And if you look at what I did, is conventional farming is based on, or farming is based on three sort of, I guess, principles. We have physics, we have chemistry, and we have biology. And I would say that conventional farming has been dealt with the physics. We've been cultivating and digging and plowing that fields time and time again, and at the same time we're releasing carbon dioxide from oxidation from the sun. And then to get those crops to grow, we put this chemistry on, from everything from synthesized commercial fertilizers to insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, to get that crop to you guys. Regenerative farming has gone the opposite. We make the trump card biology, those living creatures underneath our feet, as the driving motion to bring that plant to you, the consumer. We still have some physics, we're still doing some tillage, but our tillage is minimal. It's no-drill, it's no-till, it's shallow. And that's a big thing. And when you work with Mother Nature every day, it's powerful. And I take people for tours, and the first thing I tell them in my gardens, you've got to take your boots off and you've got to walk bare feet. Because when you feel it through your feet, you feel the energy in the ground from your feet. You want to eat it. I guarantee you. But regenerative farming is much more than just soils. It's about the land. And there's 4 pillars that I've been talking to regenerative farmers about. And the beauty thing about this, though I'm a regenerative farmer, any person that has any type of soil, whether it's in a pot or on a front lawn, can do exactly the same thing I'm doing. You've got to start to respect biology. But the 4 pillars in regenerative agriculture for me is the land, number 1. The body, number 2, me. The spirit, number 3. And the last part of the puzzle is business. We are only as strong as the soil, our bodies. We are in an epidemic. When I went to school, autism was 1 in 2,000. Today it's 1 in 34. By the year 2030, it's 1 in 3. Autism alone, there's an economic model around that can sustain that, if your workforce is like that. Every 3 minutes in Canada, somebody's diagnosed with cancer. And that's not just the environment that we have to solve, but it's the food. We're eating crap. And we need to make some changes. And we are making changes. Man, when I talk to people, it's amazing. So our bodies are just a prelude or just a copy of what we're doing in the soil. So we have good soils, we have good bodies. And then we got good spirit. And this word comes down to me is there's two things about farming. A lot of conventional farmers are motivated by fear. And I hate fear. How many people like to be fearful? No. If I have to motivate you, I'll start a fire. That's a good motivator to get you out of the room. But what motivates me isn't fear. It's love. And I'm inspired by love. Because when I'm inspired in my garden, I love my garden, all of a sudden I get creative. And I look at solutions differently. And every regenerative farmer that I've talked to are just like me, just not as loud. So when I look at this, I look at the spirit that we have. And I would rather be motivated by love or inspired by love than motivated by fear. And motivation and inspiration are two separate words that we got to do. And if you're inspired to live on this planet, then you're inspired to love it, and you will make the changes that need to be done. And our farm system is going to change. The last thing we talk about in regenerative farming, before I have to go, is business. And business is changing for us. I was in an economic crisis 12 years ago. Our farm was about to collapse doing the conventional organic method. And I put organic farming and conventional farming right now on the same platform. Regenerative farming is a little bit different. I had a breakdown. I needed to change our model. And in the business model, we have decided in our farm, and a lot of regenerative farmings I talk to, it is our employees are number one. Our customer, you, are number two. And the shareholder or the farm person is the third benefit. Now think about that. 50% of you people out there are disengaged in your jobs right now. Another 38% of you are totally disengaged, and 1 in 5 of you want to create destruction in your job. If I gave you the freedom to do anything you wanted, 80% of you would change jobs. Now imagine what you could change if you loved what you did. And that instead of your boss getting all the money, you got the money. So we're changing the whole way. Regenerative farming is not just about the land. It's about how we do business. It's how we treat our employees. Every one of my employees, when I tell people what we make, what I pay them, they go, "There's no way you can do that." Well, they said to us, "There's no way you can get 1% organic matter in 1 year." And I'm not the only one. So I guess what I want to end is that when we make our employees first, our customers number two, and me number three, so I'm the shareholder and the owner of the farm. Think about this. Why don't we make the earth number one, the soil number one, you, the population number two, and the third benefit would be the world. Anyways, I want to thank you very much, and I'm sorry I didn't get into more there.
For coming into the city and leaving your beloved farm. Did anyone hear Bill McKibben speak at U of T? Okay. One thing that stood out in my mind when he was talking about farmers from Saskatchewan all the way down to Texas, who are as right-wing as you can get politically, who are practicing regenerative agriculture because it affects their bottom line. because living soil produces crops that are more drought resistant, more pest resistant, and more productive than chemical agriculture. And the only thing in their way is the insurance companies that will not provide crop insurance if they don't use chemicals. I don't know if that's true, but that's an impediment to regenerative agriculture, which is so logical. I mean, sustainability is not an option anymore. It's regenerative, whether it's agriculture, whether it's living conditions, or anything else. So if it ain't regenerative, it ain't, as they say about rust check. So, thank you. The next speaker, I think according to the technology, is...
No, because of mask.
There's it.